We got to air it out. Let's air it out. So we got to air it out. Let's air it out. So
how do you say that? Air it out? Air it out?
Air it out.
What's going on, guys? We are back with the Air It Out podcast. I'm your humble host, Jerome Jones. I am back as the host, Mr. Let's go. Hey. I'm here with my guys, my homies. I got Darius right over here. What's going on, Darius? How you feeling, man?
What's going on, man? What did I tell you guys? All I'm going to say is the revenge tour started. That's all I'm going to say, man. Stop.
I see. I have the capability of muting people in here, so I will mute you right now because we can't have you talking right now. But we have something for you in a second. Avery, what's going on, my man? We got Avery right down here. What's going on, Mr. Ant Clemens lookalike, my man? How you doing?
What up? You know what I mean?
There you go.
Everybody go out and stream Story of My Life, his new single. Go watch the video. It's super dope. And real quick, Keanu Neal, we are going to miss you. Kiki, have fun in Dallas.
And we got the man right over here. We got Mr. Coach Darren Braston. What's going, Darren?
Listen, gotta shout out my boys, man. 18-0 for the 0 for the first dub of the win. Shout out, boys, Latin people. We in here. Let's go.
Congrats.
Go.
Let's go. All right. Well, before we start, it's free agency time. There's a lot going on. First thing I want to do is let Darius have his minute of shine because the man had an incredible free agency. So, Darius, get it over it. Just go.
All I'm going to say is, man, I told y'all this on last week's episode. The Bill Belichick Revenge Tour is going to start. And it started with all those signings. And we got some key players coming back. And we still not done. The beauty of everything was on Twitter was seeing every insider say the Patriots are still not done. I was like, how? How are we not done if we're spending all this money? But when you break down the contracts, Belichick is playing chess while the rest of the league is playing checkers. We see y'all in the 2021 season. That's all I'm saying. Man.
This guy, man. All right, we got our first comment in here. We got Mr. Juan. What's going on, Juan? Checking us out. We appreciate that. Both RU and Syracuse in it. Let's go, he said.
Man, listen. I don't bump March Madness, man, because listen, I don't think we should have made the tournament in the first place. But to make the tournament and get blown out like that, and for all of you who are wondering who I'm talking about, my Tar Heels got stomped. And I'm like, why did we even like that?
Yeah, me and Avery are Tar Heel fans, and yeah, it was. We're not talking about that. We're talking about football.
Listen, we talking about March Madness, man. We gotta shout out the Drexel for even getting there. They got blown out, but hey,
shout out to Oral Roberts beating Ohio State because I can't stand Ohio State.
That was a huge upset. Huge upset.
Shout out to Duke. Anyway, let's get on with our show, man. We're going to get into our first topic, and we're going to talk about, before we get into the free agency thing, because we got a nice little free agency game, but before we get into that, we got to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Drew Brees, the legacy of Drew Brees. My man just retired this past week. Let's talk about a little Drew Brees, give him a little tribute. Coach, I want you to go first. What is it that you like about Drew Brees? What is it that his legacy being in the league? What do you think about his retirement?
So when you think about Drew Brees, you gotta think about the start, really. The true start of the short quarterbacks coming in and dominating. That man is only 6 foot. And when I say he balled out all 15 years with the Saints, and even with the Chargers, he was good. I gotta understand that man has mostly top 5 records for everything. And then when you break it down, the guy has 4 of the top 5 number 1 completion rates in the NFL. That is ridiculous. Not only that, but the guy was unstoppable when he got in a groove. Like, who else is better with the ball in his hands? Come on now. It don't matter who he was throwing to. Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Marcus Colston, people. He made those guys monsters. monsters. So shout out to Drew Brees. Shout out to his legacy of being a dominant quarterback and introducing the league to, hey, small guys can play too, man. Especially at the quarterback position.
I appreciate you mentioning Marcus Colston because a lot of people forgot about him. He was a beast in our time, man. He was when Drew Brees got there, he was awesome. Avery, what do you think about Drew Brees and his legacy?
I mean, I echo everything that Darren said. Phenomenal quarterback, especially for his size and stature to be able to do what he did. He played like he was 6'4", 230 pounds. You couldn't tell. The preparation is what I think is the most underrated part of his game, his dedication to his preparation and being prepared and doing all the work necessary to be great. He got those accolades because of the work that he put in. It wasn't something that was handed to him. He was essentially in a position where we didn't think he was ever going to play again, and he fought through that. He fought through adversity. He always fought through adversity. He goes to a city that is, I'm talking bottom of the barrel in the NFL, and brings them their first and only Super Bowl. He is just the epitome of a professional. You talk about the records. You know, Darren listed off a couple of them. He has the most 5,000-yard passing seasons in NFL history. Only one other quarterback in NFL history has more than one. You want to know his name is? Drew Brees. That's it. He's the only person who has more than one 5,000-yard passing season. And to do that, like I said, at his height, at his stature, against the odds, you know, is just something that I think we have to marvel at. And then more importantly, as a person, I know he had a whole situation prior to last season with some of his quote unquote insensitive comments. But I think even with those comments being made, everybody, I think because of Drew Brees' heart, that's what made everybody kind of shocked and weirded out about him and wondering why he could, or how he could be so insensitive, because they're like, and even with it, in our heart of hearts, we knew that's not Drew Brees. That's not a proper representation of his heart, of his dedication, of what he stands for, of what he's about. And, you know, hats off to a phenomenal career. I'm glad that he retired because I'm a Falcons fan. So get on up out of that division now. You know what I'm saying? But even still, I love the battles. Watching those battles were some of the greatest. You know, when Atlanta was at their height and they were at their height, you know, it really at one point it depended who was going to be home and who was going to have the ball last, and it was must see TV for me. Like it was one of those rivalries that was up there with Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and so you know I appreciated it, and I appreciated him, and you know, like I said, hats off to him. So salute to a brilliant career and a phenomenal legacy that he's going to leave behind.
Yes, record-breaking quarterback. You know, broke a lot of records. I wish he had a lot more Super Bowls. Darius, what can you say about Drew Brees and his legacy?
I think Avery and Darren said it all. They hit it on a nail, man. I think a phenomenal career. First ballot Hall of Famer, obviously, when he's eligible. I'd be surprised if they don't give him a Hall of Fame now, especially first ballot. You can make an argument that he's a top 10, top 5 quarterback of all time. And Darren's point, he redefined the game for short quarterbacks. You know what I mean? He was one of those guys who you had to really prepare for. Like when you face the Saints, you're like, you know what, we're going up against Drew Brees and the Saints against those guys. And I think he had an underrated rivalry with Matt Ryan. That rivalry, like Avery said, that's a very underrated rivalry that I think got overshadowed by all the other great quarterbacks that were in the league, like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and all those guys. But I think he's stepping into obviously a great situation where he's going to be working for NBC. So he's still going to be around the love of football. And I'm glad he's retiring, because I always say nobody knows their body better than, you know, yourself. So I think he knew with all the injuries he was facing in the last 2 seasons, it was time to hang it up. And then after losing to Tom Brady and seeing Tom Brady come to Tampa Bay and win the championship, probably felt like I was probably never going to get past this guy. So let me just hang it up. But
No one. No, just no. Just no.
Nah. But he's done a lot for that city. The city of New Orleans. He's definitely a hero. Somebody that everybody could look up to, and you know, he's just a professional on and off the field. So hats off to Drew Brees. Obviously, as a football fan, if you're in NFC in that division, you're happy, but you're also sad because you look forward to those battles against Drew Brees and the Saints. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that team goes moving forward without Drew Brees.
Definitely. Guy redefined how, a person lifts a city up, and, being such a difference maker in a city, especially right after, everything that happened with New Orleans some years ago. So that was great. If you got something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I also think that, even to some of Juan's questions, right? Those questions aren't asked about Peyton Manning. They're not going to be asked about Tom Brady. They're not going to be asked about Aaron Rodgers. He's the most scrutinized top-tier elite quarterback, I think, of all time. I don't think anybody else has had to face against the odds that he has had to face against, with an injury that is supposed to end his career, with going to a bottom-of-the-barrel league of the league football team after a natural disaster, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, in human history. To take that team to a Super Bowl and to do that at his size and stature, with not a lot of huge big names, with not a lot of, extreme, like a top 10 or even top 5 defense all time, ever in his career, for him to do all of those things. I mean, and like I said, to go against the odds and what he was like, a lot of stuff that was stacked up against him. You can make an argument based on those things alone, as well as the accolades, that he should be deserving to be top 5. I mean, like I said, it's hard enough to play quarterback. It's harder to play quarterback at 6 foot. It's harder to play quarterback after coming back from an injury. It's harder to play quarterback in a market that is not extremely marketable and doesn't have a ton of money, and the franchise doesn't have any success prior to you. Listen, man, I mean, like I said, hats off to him. Phenomenal, an amazing career. And I think any questions, any doubts, any concerns should be put to rest. He's literally number 1, 2, or 3 in almost every single quarterback statistical category. Let that man enjoy and ride off into the sunset. First ballot Hall of Fame.
Real quick, Darius, you have something?
I was just gonna say, man, it's kind of sad that he doesn't have an MVP, and I think every year that he was in the conversation, some player that won it had a better year, or they finished obviously, going to the division round of Super Bowl. So I definitely think if he adds in the MVP, the conversation and the narrative would have been a lot different. But the guy has a Super Bowl. The guy has a Super Bowl MVP. I don't think they had a losing season with him. And just like I said, a professional on and off the field. So I definitely think that he got robbed a couple of times, but hey, that's just how the league works nowadays. So
Last,
let Darren go.
So real quick, he did have a few 7-9 seasons, but those cannot be attributed to his greatness. You gotta understand that dude carried them even when they went 7-9, and he was the reason for them to even get those 7 wins. But I gotta say this to my man Avery. Why your Falcons had to be petty like that, man? Talking about something, we miss you. We love you, but we ain't gonna miss you, my man. I ain't had to be petty like that.
Because it's the real deal. I love Drew Brees. I'm gonna miss watching his game and everything like that, but I'm not gonna miss going up against him. And here's the reason why. This is my last point. I believe, and this is my personal opinion, I personally believe Cam Newton and Mike Ryan both have Super Bowls, if not for Drew Brees. I think I personally believe, because Drew Brees was in that division and they had to go against him, he was the reason, because some of those years when they were good, he would win the division or whatever, or he would stop them or give them some type of dagger. And for me, like, I believe that if Drew Brees wasn't in that division, I think the Falcons would have made at least one more Super Bowl and probably won one. And I believe the same thing about the Panthers when they had Cam Newton.
Whatever, man.
But I feel the same way about Phillip Rivers. If he didn't have to go up against the Tom Brady and a Peyton Manning every year, I think Phillip Rivers would have gotten himself one. But again, it's a testament to the greatness of those type of players, where it's just like I mean, you look at the time when Jordan was playing, there's other players that were really good. Charles Barkley should have a ring, but he had to go against a guy named Jordan. Shaq should have got a ring in Orlando, but he had to go against a guy named Jordan. And so it's just like they probably might have gotten rings, but they had to go against a guy named Drew Brees. So
definitely
great.
Well, we all wish Drew Brees the best retirement, man. It's gonna be weird without having him in the fold, and it looking like Tom Brady's the only one that's gonna be left, and he might play for another 15 years. Who knows? But let's get into our next topic. We're gonna get right into our big game. It's called the Great Free Agency Debate. So, guys, if you haven't seen our game show last week, go check it out. It's on YouTube. Search Inside the Hashes, search Air It Out Podcast on there. You can find it. Mr. Darren.
He cheated.
He
dominant win.
He went hard.
Dominant win, people.
Cheated.
So we got to have Avery and Darius revenge themselves. So let's just talk about how this game's going to go. We're going to talk about free agency. It's going to have a debate. I have a couple of free agents right here, and we're going to talk about where they went, their contracts, if it was a good signing or if it was a bad signing. Now, whoever debates on here can get somebody that debates against them. If the person debates against them, they lose points off of that. So it goes based on my judgment. I will judge them from 1 point, 2 points, or 3 points, and the next person gets to jump in and debate and take their points from them. And if they take their points from them, they get double points. So this is going to be exciting. I'm super excited to see how this goes. This is the first time doing something like this. So let's see how it goes. And we're going to start with our first player, and it's going to be Darius. You're going to start us off with it, all right? So I randomly selected the player, and you will be talking about Shaquille Griffin going to the Jacksonville Jaguars on a 3-year deal, $44 million. Go. You got 1 minute.
I like the signing, right? Jacksonville is revamping their defense, right? They kind of want to get back to how they had it with Jalen Ramsey, AJ Boye, Shaquille Griffin. He's a solid cover corner. And you got him on a 3-year deal. You pair him up with CJ Henderson, a young guy, so he brings in that veteran leadership to the locker room. And you can kind of have him on the opposite side of him, and he's pretty good in zone. He's pretty good in man coverage, and I think he's an underrated tackler. So I think it's a pretty solid signing, especially because they're rebuilding that defense, and he's young. You get a young guy, and like I said, you pair him up with that young defense, and he can bring that better veteran leadership to that team, something that they need, especially in that secondary. And like I said, you pair him up with C.J. Henderson. That might be an underrated duo come the 2021 season, especially if C.J. Henderson can, take that leap going into this season.
And got it done within the 1 minute. Already, we got Avery wants to debate this. Oh, so I already got your points down. I already know what your points is. So I have your points written down right here. I will give you. But Avery has a chance to steal. Now, Avery, why are you against what he said?
I'm against it for a couple reasons. Number one, he tried to compare them to Richard Sherman and AJ Boye. Neither one of those players are of the caliber of
I ain't say Richard Sherman.
Well, you listen, it doesn't matter. You said Jalen Ramsey, which is even worse.
Get back to it.
Which is even worse. But it's like they're not even close to the caliber of those guys. That's number one. Number two, I think if you say that CJ Henderson is supposed to take a leap, I think bringing in because CJ was brought in to be the number one guy. Shaquille is obviously going to be the number one guy at this point. So does it cause CJ to regress a little bit? Additionally, I think because Shaquille goes into a new system, I think it's going to hamper him more than we think. I think that a lot of his skill set a lack thereof was overshadowed by the fact that Seattle's defense was still pretty good and pretty solid with Bobby Wagner at the helm. So I don't know if I'm sold on Shaquille as being a top tier corner. I don't think he's even top 10 in the league yet. So to bring him on, yes, he's going to be.
And that's over.
Don't see it.
Yeah, debate is good. So you got Darius. My initial points for him was 2 points. I gave him 2 points, 2 out of 3. So I do agree that he will be a good fit to be in Jacksonville simply because you already got CJ Henderson there. He's going to be – I think CJ Henderson is going to be the number one corner there. He played very well as a rookie last year. I think he's going to be the number one. You got Shaquille Griffin there just in case he don't be the number one guy, I think. So I do think it's a great debate. I mean, a great debate from Darius. But I'm gonna give it to Avery here because the comparison just killed me with that. So Avery, you're gonna get the 4 points right there. You got the first points. That's 4, and we're gonna go to our next guy. So, Avery, you're on the clock. So we're gonna restart this. Restart. Okay. Oh, there we go. Sorry. All right, here we go. Avery, you have Curtis Samuel. Went to the Lions. Not the Lions. He went to the Lions or Washington, right? Yeah, I don't know why hit the line. He went to the Washington, 3 years, $34 million. Go, you're on the clock.
I think this is a pretty good move. I mean, you've already got a young Terry McLaurin there who's going to be the guy, right? Easily, and I think that him coming in, he's a solid number 2 guy. He's not a number 1, so they brought him in to be the number 2. Terry's going to be the number 1 clearly. They're both extremely good when it comes to the route running. They both can get open and get downfield. They both are really good after the catch. So it looks like they're going to be a team that is a kind of a mirror image of what we saw in Carolina when Cam Newton was there with Christian McCaffrey. So you got Antonio Gibson, you got Curtis Samuel, and you got Terry McLaurin, all who are phenomenal catchers and catchers after running after the catch. I think it's going to be a phenomenal signing for them. I think he's going to do more for them than they truly imagine. I can't wait to see it. And I think the money was well deserved. And it was a good price mark.
Ooh, and last second, we got Coach buzzing in. So I have my score for this right here. So, Coach, why do you think that was why do you go against what Avery said?
So I truly do like Curtis Samuels, but you have to understand he had really one good year, and that was when Matt Rule came in and utilized all of his skill sets as both a runner and a receiver. You don't want to take away gives from Antonio Gibson as much, and as well, you have to understand when he was around with Vera, he was not that good. They did not know how to utilize him properly. He was never utilized properly, never had over 800 yards receiving in a season during that time frame. This was his first season truly standing out and making a difference for that team. So I'm a little confused with that. But as well, do we really trust Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tyler Heineke as a quarterback for them too? I'm not too sure.
All right. Well, Avery, buzz in again. Avery, you can't buzz into debate, but I will allow you a few seconds to rebuttal real quick.
That's just not a good argument, only because of the fact that he's not a number 1. So, like I said, he doesn't have to get over 800 yards. All he has to do is be productive, get yards after the catch. He's not going to take away from touches from Antonio Gibson because Antonio Gibson is a Swiss Army knife. All he needs is 10 to 15 touches in the backfield, 5 to 10 catches. That's all he needs. So we're not going to see a drop off from there. And additionally,
you get. All right, cool. So I love everything that Avery said. I gave Avery initially 2 points. Simply because he forgot one factor is because he did not mention that his Ron Rivera was his coach who coached at Carolina. So you missed that point. So I think you could have added that in there. Darren, I completely disagree with you. Curtis Samuel definitely had great years. You have to remember they had DJ Moore. You have to remember they had Greg Olsen over there. You know, you had Cam Newton that was running, Christian McCaffrey back there. So he did have a whole bunch. He didn't need to be that number 1 guy. He
brought him in to be the number 2, and he still never produces the number 2 until this year.
So Avery, you get the points. Avery is at 6 points already. Start off.
Avery cheating.
Avery bleasting it out. All right, here we go. We get into the next guy. Start the clock. Let's start the buzzer. And we got Coach. You got Corey Linsley. He went to LA Chargers. He got a 5-year, $62 million deal. What do you think about that one? And go.
You said Phillip Lindsay?
Corey Linsley, the center from
center from the Packers.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I like the signing. I love the signing. Honestly, you give Justin Herbert a true leader on that offensive line, someone that can help stabilize that offensive line. He was an all-pro type of guy and a Pro Bowl type of guy with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. So now he can help develop and help call out the plays and things like that and help the line adjustments for Justin Herbert. And on top of that, he was always graded in PFF as one of the number 1 to 5 top guys as center. And last year, he was the number 1 center in the league for PFF. So you got to understand, him going to the Chargers helps solidify the run game, the pass game, and overall just helps Justin Herbert develop. That's the main goal right now for them. So I love the sign. Gotta love it, even with the money.
All right, awesome. So nobody debated it. So Darren, your points all depends on me now. So I gave you a 3. I 100% agree with it. I don't have a problem with the contract. I think that with a veteran center there that played under Aaron Rodgers, that he got the smarts to help out a young up and coming quarterback that has some of the same qualities as Aaron Rodgers as well, and can help him out with the calls and help him out with when he does the checks and things like that. So I gave you a 3. I thought that was a great debate. Go ahead,
Real
Coach.
quick. It was just like when Jeff Saturday went to Indianapolis to pair up with Peyton Manning, a guy that was the elder statesman that knew the calls, knew what he had to do, and helped develop a guy that has tremendous potential.
Go ahead, Avery, real quick.
My only objection is, and I like the signing, and I only have one objection, so that's why I didn't buzz in. My only objection is that he'll be 30 in July. And I like typically, this is just how I liked it. I like to see a young quarterback and a young center kind of grow together. I love seeing, a veteran center come in and help a young quarterback doing that as well. But I prefer if it was around like a 27, 28. But because he'll be turning 30 in July, I mean, you got to think he's potentially, and that's why it's only a 3-year deal. Potentially he's got like 3 to 5 if he's durable, maybe. Say it again?
5-year deal.
Okay, so again, so they're basically, and that's my point. They're basically saying we're going to keep you for basically what we think you've got left in the tank. After that, it's kind of like, And so, like, again, 5 years is cool, but to me, Justin Herbert's going to be around for at least 15. And so I like to see, let's get a young guy in and go ahead and build him up. And it's gonna be hard to replace, I can't remember. Thank you. So, but I think, again, to Darren's point, he's always near the top of the league as far as rating by PFF. So it's not a situation where he's an extreme slouch or anything like that. Like I said, my only objection, and it's just the one, is that, like I said, I'd prefer like a younger guy to come in to build with him. Darius, you say you had something to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, man, we talked about what the biggest need for the Chargers was. It was offensive line help, and I think the Chargers realized that. And you get a guy who's been around the league, played with Aaron Rodgers, great at his position, and you pair him up with a young quarterback who's proven that he can go out and play in his league. I love the signing, and that's why I didn't object. It's a great signing. Avery, you hit it on the nail. Like after those 5 years. 4 to 5, 3 to 4 years, that's it. He may trade you in your last year, see what we can get back. Maybe we can get like a 5th round, 6th round pick. But I love the signing just because Justin Herbert needed that. And then you lose Pouncey, who's a great center, and then you bring in another great center who has that veteran leadership, who can also mentor the rest of the young offensive line that they have. And I'm a big fan of veterans coming in and just being a mentor to the rest of the team. Perfect example, a little bit of a homer, Dante Hightower, linebacker, New England, right? He's coming back and he can be a mentor to those younger guys like a Josh Uche and Alfred Jennings, guys who, going into their second year. So I think it's very important that they did that. And we just got to talk about the way that the veteran leadership, the mentorship in the NFL goes, like having an older guy come in and, mentoring the younger guys. That really matters, and it helps go a long way. So I love the signing. That's why I didn't buzz. So, yeah, Darren, that's why you got the point, bro. That's why you got the point.
It's an easy one. But we got to go to the next one, and I believe it's Darius's turn. And yes. I really got a great one for you, Darius. This is a recent signing for everyone. 4 years, $76 million with $30 million guaranteed for Mr. Kenny Galladay.
72 million, 40 million.
40 guaranteed. That's what kills me. 40 is 40 million.
74.
Now, I don't like the signing. I don't like the signing for a couple of reasons. Darren, we pointed to it. The guy really hasn't been healthy. Now, when he's healthy, he's arguably a top, you can say he's a number one receiver, something that Daniel Jones needs. Darius Slayton is not a number one wide receiver. He's more of a number two. Sterling Shepard, concussion protocols, always hurt. You could put him in a slot. But Kenny Galladay, if healthy, is a number one. I'm a fan of what, the Will Fuller got a 1 year prove it type of deal. Prove it that you can stay healthy for a majority of the season. Prove that you can give us, 60 receptions, 1,200 yards, or 5+ touchdowns. You know what I'm trying to say? And then you give him $40 million guaranteed. That's a lot of money guaranteed for a wide receiver who hasn't really proved too much in the league, in my opinion. He does have 1,000-yard receivings, but it's, again, the injuries. That's a big red flag. I'm giving you all that money, and then, you only play 6 games, especially when we're looking for a number one receiver. I felt like the Giants should have just did a 1-year deal. He does well, then you sign.
Buzz.
Go ahead.
Listen, I like the signing. I'm appreciative of it. As Jerome texts me, I'm appreciative of the signing, because, I'm not sure exactly what's happening with Jerome. He's dealing with some technical issues, so hopefully we can get him back on. But in the meantime, I'm appreciative of the signing. Why? Because outside of offensive line, what was the one thing that was missing from this team?
Wide receiver.
A dynamic wide receiver. You just said
they could have got it in the draft for cheaper.
Listen, you just said Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard are not number one, type guys, right? But you pair them up with a Kenny Galladay and Evan Ingram, Saquon Barkley coming back. Now you're talking about weapons all over the field for Daniel Jones, who can sling the ball, and he's an athletic runner of the football, and he can do a lot of extra stuff with having Kenny Galladay on the field, just because of how he's going to threaten on the field. The other thing is, when you look at what was going on in Detroit, the reason there were a lot of injuries were a couple of things. Number one, he was the main guy. He was basically the only guy there outside of T.J. Hockenson. Marvin Jones Jr.? Marvin Jones Jr. was cool. Listen, do not get me wrong. He was cool, but he was literally, because Matthew Stafford is a volume thrower, he's going to get a lot of stuff. But Kenny Galladay was literally the guy. He was the one that Matthew Stafford was like, listen, if I had to go to somebody, I'm going to Kenny when he's on the field. Now, in addition to, because you brought up the injury, he's young. Let's not forget, he is young. And I think it's going to be a situation, because they're going to spread the ball around so much now, clearly, they're not going to ask him to do as much that he was asked to do in Detroit. So I think it'll actually prolong his career. I think he will stay healthier because he'll be asked to do a lot less. Case in point, Julio Jones, right? They started to see that Julio was getting a little injured. So what do? We bring in a Calvin Ridley. We bring in
Calvin Ridley.
Exactly.
He didn't go out. You drafted.
Right. But here's the thing. Like I said, there was no guarantee that Calvin was going to be great. Right? So when you're drafting, you're not sure. Kenny's proven, and he's young. It's not like he's 32 years old and they brought him in and they did this. He's a young wide receiver, big guy who can get it done.
I will say this.
All right.
The only thing I don't like is maybe the $40 million guarantee.
That's what I was gonna say.
All right, guys. I'm gonna have to rein y'all in at this point. I'll let Darius for a quick second.
The only reason why I don't like it, Avery, and we agree, is the $40 million. I don't mind him signing to a team, but it's just you're giving him that much. I felt like it would have been a Will Fuller type of deal. 1 year, prove it, and then you stay healthy majority of the season. He doesn't have to play all 17 games. If he could at least play 13, 14 games and put up good stats, he's going to get a good contract. That was my only thing with it. That doesn't
see to me.
All
That
right,
doesn't
gentlemen.
make sense.
All right, gentlemen. We want
If
the
that's,
reigning
if that's your
for this
only argument, then to me it's a good signing.
And
Right?
you can draft
Only-
you can draft a wide receiver and get him cheaper. They could have
and not
drafted
and draft a wide receiver and not know what you're getting with them. You know what you're getting.
what you're getting with. You look at the wide
All
receiver.
right, gentlemen. We're gonna have to rein it in on this one. So, honestly, I love all the points that Darius made. I definitely agree with the injury history, especially for the last 2 years now. He's been injury prone. And you have to understand, like Avery said, it's a volume thing with Matthew Stafford. So Galladay had plenty of chances to prove he was that guy.
Listen, I don't want to hear it, man.
Now Darren's going.
Because my thing is this. Your only objection essentially was the contract, right?
It's the contract and the injury history.
But you're talking about the injury history. You're talking about but think about it, right? Like none of them have been major injuries where we're like, yo, is he going to come?
No, it hasn't.
Right? Is he going to come back from this? It's just okay. Next, he'll keep. But my thing is that, and that's my thing. Like all you got to do, get in the weight room. That's all that means.
Let me ask you this. All right, let me ask you. If you're a GM, right? If you're a GM and you see the free agent, if you see Galladay, right? You're like, okay, would you give him with everything we just considered? And then you have the draft. And you see how deep it is at the wide receiver class. Would you give Galladay? Would you give Galladay the contract that he did? Or would you be like, you know what? We're gonna bring you in. We want you. I'm not saying I would love Galladay. He's a phenomenal, he's a beast. But would you bring him on that type of contract with his injury history? That's my question. Yes or no?
I think the answer is yes, just not the $40 million guaranteed. So I would give him the multiple years. I would even give him the $70 million. It's the $40 million guaranteed. I maybe bring it down to about 25, 30, something like that. But I think because of the fact that they had some cap space and they understood there's really one big need that we have on offense outside of.
I agree. It's the wide receiver position.
And so why not get somebody that's proven as opposed to somebody who's going to have to grow into it and yada yada. Like, and we were just talking about the center, Lindsley, going in for Justin Herbert and how he's going to help him being a veteran. He's going to help Daniel Jones being a veteran receiver, being thrown to by Matthew Stafford, being thrown to in a situation where you know you're not going to win. So he knows how to be like, listen, I can get open either way. And knowing they're going to double and triple team me. Now he's going to see less double and triple teams because you can't, because you still got Evan Ingram. You still got Darius Slayton. You still got Sterling Shepard in the slot, who's, to me, one of the best.
He's a beast in the slot. But again, injuries were his problem.
And Saquon Barkley coming back. Think about that. Just think about how much pressure that takes off Kennedy, because when they run the football, guess what happens? Play action, which means less press, which means more opportunities get open. Listen, I'm appreciative of it. Jerome says,
I don't mind the signing. I definitely again, I don't mind. It's just more of, and I'm a homer. I'm the Patriot way. It's just more of, I don't want to. I'm not gonna. If I'm a GM, I don't want to pay you that much if you have a history of injuries. That's just my only thing. Like if he can go out there and prove me wrong. And his first year, he plays all 17 games, 15 games, and he puts up 1,300 yards, 85 receptions for 12 touchdowns. Yo, okay, cool. Now it makes sense. And then, you give Daniel Jones a solidified one. But again, like I said, this year in a draft, it's deep in wide receiver. You know what I mean? I felt like they could have drafted a guy who is a clear-cut number one, and then my vote goes to wow. Oh, okay, there. That's fair.
Listen, man.
I don't mind the signing. It's just I just don't like how much he was getting, especially because you look at outside of Curtis Samuel, look at Juju, right? Juju got $8 million 1 year, prove it type of deal. Will Fuller this year before the whole PED situation, right? He would have, if that didn't happen, he would have definitely got a contract similar to that. But again,
Juju's not a prove it type of deal. Juju is a situation where Juju didn't want to leave Pittsburgh.
I think Juju's a two.
Yeah, that's all that comes from. Like he just didn't want to leave Pittsburgh because he got more money offered to him from Baltimore. He got more.
They were all 1 years. They were all 1 year.
Listen, man,
multi-year
But
deal.
again, 1 year over in double digits is not a prove it to me.
I saw $8 million.
No, see, in Pittsburgh, but I'm talking about Baltimore clearly had to offer him at least double digits. The Chiefs had to offer him at least double digits, and I'm heard that the Eagles offered him double digits. So if they're bringing him in for double digit money, I don't know if that's a prove it type of deal. That might be
But
like,
if it's not, in my opinion, if it's 1 year, to me, when I see 1 year, I think you have to prove it. If you,
I don't think it's. I don't see a lot of with the cap situation this year. We're going to see a lot of 1 year deals, right?
oh yeah, absolutely,
I don't think it necessarily means that it's a prove it deal. It could be like, hey, the cap situation right now. Let's just get you in, so we can have you on the team. Not necessarily prove it. It's just let's get you in, and then next year when the cap goes up, then we'll give you the money that you truly deserve. That's what I think.
That's fair.
But yeah,
Jalen Mills.
He gave me 5 points for that.
You got Jalen Mills, man. Obviously, we know Jalen Mills, 4-year deal, $24 million to go to New England, $9 million guaranteed. Very versatile player, can play in the slot, can play a little bit of linebacker, can play in the safety. Given what New England likes to do with versatile players, right? You know, we saw with Adrian Phillips, like playing a little bit of linebacker, a little bit of safety. Good signing or not?
Phenomenal signing.
I can't even argue with that.
Phenomenal signing, man. Listen. First of all, the price tag alone, right? Like that's a steal. That's not a lot of money, especially for a veteran corner. That is phenomenal. If you look at the numbers from when Jalen Mills was on the field, from when he was off the field with the Eagles, completely different. He literally changed their defense when he stepped onto the field for the better. And like you said, the versatility to be able to be a corner, to be able to play nickel, to be able to play safety. The guy is going to be a veteran. He's going to come in. Obviously, if Bill's bringing somebody in for the secondary, he's got some IQ about what's going on, right? He knows, okay, this guy can fit, or we can make him, we can highlight what he does well. I mean, just think about all of the phenomenal corners that Bill Belichick has had. Ty Law, Asante Samuel, Stephon Gilmore, Darrell Revis.
Yeah, man.
Brandon Browner was
a little shaky, but
but he was made to look good in there, even for some parts. And it's like, of course, you're going to bring in Jalen Mills, and I think he's going to translate well on that team. I believe he's a passionate player, and he's a great locker room guy. As long as he's got and he clearly has the IQ. I think he's an Asante Samuel type corner who likes to take risks. He likes to jump routes and different things like that. So now you've got McCourty on the other side playing man. He's able to jump his routes and do what he's got to do. Man, listen, y'all better watch out.
I love the signing, and it's hard to oppose. Obviously, with Patrick Chung retiring, it makes more sense why you bring in Jalen Mills, and on that type of deal, that to me that's a steal. We saw what Jalen Mills did last year when you put him back there at the safety position, and again, very versatile. I think Belichick is realizing the way that the league is really becoming now. You need more versatile players. You can plug Jalen Mills literally anywhere on the field, and he's going to make a play. And again, Belichick loves to bring in guys who who are okay, and you bring them into that system, and you see them do phenomenally well, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I love the signing. You pair him with McCourty. You still got Kyle Duggar, who's when he got drafted, you said who's a beast. I think he can learn from Kyle. He can learn from Jalen Mills, Adrian Phillips. It's a very crowded safety position. That's kind of another reason why I believe it's like I would kind of disagree, just because of the depth, especially with that signing and that much. You're expecting him to start first day. You're expecting him. You're plugging him in, and you're going to be like, listen, I need you to line up in the slot. I need you to line up back there with McCourty. And then, it kind of takes snaps away from Kyle Duggar, who I think had a solid rookie campaign. You look on that defense, he was one of the flashiest guys out there outside of J.C. Jackson. So it kind of gives you the hope that either New England's going to trade Stephon Gilmore, and you put Jalen Mills at the corner position, or J.C. Jackson is going to go. So that's why you really sign it. But I think it's a steal, and I think Jalen Mills is a really, really underrated player, and he doesn't get the respect that he does just because of how he played when he was at corner. You put that man at safety, you let him work, you let him do what he has to do, he's gonna ball out. And again, it's a steal, and it's gonna help that Patriots defense in the long run. So I love this.
How many points did I get?
We went for Darren. Darren got it right. Darren got it right. But yeah, like Darren said, man, multiple starters, right? Everybody in that position can start, and you can kind of just mix and match. You can have, Duggar and McCourty on, for a couple of plays, and then take them out and then put Mills in. So it's a good signing. It's just I really wanted to see how Kyle Duggar was going to do year 2, just because I think year 1 he proved a lot of people wrong. Coming from a Division II school, he came in and was like, "Yo, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna ball." I got to work on my cover skills a little bit, but when it comes down to stopping a run, I'm good.
All right, so I'll give you the next one. All right, Jerome just texted me. His computer's giving him issues, but he said, "This is I'm gonna give this one to you, Darius." 3 years, $37 million for Mr. Corey Davis to the Jets. Your minute starts now.
I like it. I like it because the Jets need I think Corey Davis can be a number 1 receiver. Last year, he showed you what he can do with Ryan Tannehill. Now, the Jets obviously have questions at quarterback. We don't know if they're going to trade Sam Darnold. We don't know if they're going to drive Zach Wilson. We don't know. But I think on that type of deal, a friendly deal, and Corey Davis actually can play the wide receiver position, which the Jets really, I think, really needed. You got Jamison Crowder, who's a really good guy in the slot. Denzel Mims, he's a big, more physical guy. But Corey Davis, he's going to do a little bit of the dirty work, stuff that's probably not going to show up on his stat sheets. He's good as a run blocker. Obviously had to do it because Derrick Henry. So I definitely think it's a good signing, especially what the Jets are probably trying to do. They have a 3-headed monster at the wide receivers position, and I think it's really, really underrated, especially if they keep Jamison Crowder.
And time. All right, so we got to buzz in. Darren says he doesn't like it. He says he's a big-bodied number 2 and only has shown 1 good year of production, and that was when he was paired with A.J. Brown.
But here's my thing, and I may sound a little bit maybe contradicting myself a little bit with the Kenny Galloway, but I think the Jets saw something in Corey Davis, and they felt like he can fit what we're trying to do. We can bring the best out of him. He can be that number 1 guy, or that number 2 guy, and Denzel Mims can be that number. They have weapons. They have a lot of weapons, and you got to remember the Jets have 2 first-round picks. Obviously, they're probably going to go quarterback, and if they can somehow get Najee Harris at the running back position, it'll make him look like a number 1 star. I think he's going to put up at least 950 yards, 60 receptions, and I would say 6 touchdowns his first year. And it really kind of doesn't really matter who's the quarterback. I think he's going to do what he's asked to do day in and day out.
All right. Darren also rebutted and said he has not lived up to the hype of being a number 5, the number 5 pick overall. They didn't even pick up his 5th-year option until the very last minute.
That's because it's expensive.
He said the Titans weren't sold, and neither is he. I am going to give the points here to Darius. I agree that it was a good signing. It's funny because I don't disagree too much with Darren. I think he still has to prove some things, but I agree with Darius because of the potential. I think what he needed was somebody to unlock some of that potential, and I think being paired with A.J. Brown actually unlocked those things. I think Corey Davis was suffering from a confidence issue. I think last year when he saw that a team trusted him, I saw that a team was actually getting him the ball and was able to get paired with somebody who works the way that A.J. Brown works and kind of exposed him to another level. I think that's going to take his game to another level. I think it'll translate well. So I like it. And to Darius's point as well, he's saying for what New York is trying to do, they know they're trying to get better on offense, right? Defensively, they've still got some pieces there that you're like, okay, we can play some pretty decent, solid defense, but offensively, we've got to be able to score points. We got to be able to score points with the likes of Josh Allen. We've got to be able to score points with what it looks like Cam Newton is going to have at the helm. We've got to be able to score points with these type of teams. And so I think that it was a good signing. I'm not extremely blown away by it. I think it was something that that's a good
underrated.
signing.
It's one of those underrated signings.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good signing, and I'll give you 2 points. I want to give you 3, but because I do agree with some of Darren's points, I'll give you 2 points there.
Listen. I will take it. I got one for you, Avery. And one
you gotta go to Darren.
Darren gonna type it. Darren, Matthew Judon. Now we know the contract he signed. I believe it was 4 years. 4 years, $56 million. Obviously to the New England Patriots. Darren, you gotta come correct with this, man. Was this a good signing? He said Matthew Judon to New England was a good signing. He isn't the best pass rusher, but a great run stopper. That was a weakness for the Patriots. As well, he can move around with multiple front look and Belichick runs. He still provides a solid pass rush, but his overall fit is great. As well as he caused turnovers. The only thing I don't like is the money. Avery, any objections?
Yes. Yeah, I don't like it. Like it. Listen, man. Right. The reason I don't like it is because, one, like you said, the money. That's number one. Number two, listen, man, like the way the NFL is going with the quarterback position, you got to be able to get to these quarterbacks. And I'm sorry, but it's good to be a run stopping pass rusher as well. It's good to be well rounded, but you got to be able to get to these quarterbacks. You got to be able to finish, man. And for me, I think that was one of the biggest areas of weakness for the Patriots last year, in my opinion. And I attribute that to a couple of things. Obviously, a lot of people opting out and different things like that. But I think it's a situation where, you've got a shutdown corner in Stephon Gilmore, and you've got Kyle Duggar who can play and flash all over the field. So on the back end, I'm not really concerned about the back end. But what helps the back end is when the front end can cause pressure quickly. You're playing against a Patrick Mahomes. You don't want this dude holding the ball, running around and creating magic. You're playing against a Lamar Jackson. You don't want this dude being able to carve you up and take off. You want to be able to be like, no, we got to keep him contained, get him to the ground. You're playing against a Josh Allen. You don't want him getting moving and start making plays. These are the type of jokers that you're going to have to deal with. And so for me, pass rush is what I would have been going for. So I'm not an extremely big fan of this, as well as the money. So that's just my, take on it.
Man, I agree. I think the money was a lot, especially for Bill Belichick. We all hear that he does not like to pay some of his players, but when it comes down to taking risks, it has showed when he signed Stephon Gilmore back in 2017. We saw what happened with the interception against the Rams.
That wasn't a risk.
And I think
he was a dog. Regardless,
he was even good. He was good in Buffalo. I think I did not like going up against him. He was a dog in South Carolina, and it transitioned obviously to the NFL. But I'm gonna give it to Darren, just because of he had one thing on the point. He basically talked about being a great run stopper. And Matthew Judon is he is good in a run stop. And I think with the Patriots, the reason why they signed him was because, one, he can stop the run. You gotta understand too, you're getting guys like Dante Hightower back, who's a hybrid linebacker. You could put him on, the edge, and he can rush the passer, right? So that means that Judon can kind of play back and stop the run. You got Calvin Noy coming back. So I think the signing of Matthew Judon is great. I was obviously excited just because they get some type of pass rush, something that they lack. He's not the best, and I think Belichick knows that. But again, he can probably come in, learn from Belichick and our system, and it can translate to him being somewhat of a good pass rush. But the run stop, if you watch most of the games, man, it was teams just being able to run the ball down the Patriots' throats. and that's something you look at. You look at all the defensive signings the Patriots signed, really outside of Jalen Mills. It's really just that front seven, right? Making sure if you're gonna beat us, you're gonna beat us through the air. You're not gonna beat us running the ball. And I think that was the philosophy. Just because, again, like you said, Avery, Stephon Gilmore, his future is in question. His future is in question.
So, how many points are you going to give to Darren then?
I'm gonna give Darren 2. One thing that you guys left out, and I was Avery. If you would have said it, you would have won his age. He's 28. If you would have said that, I'd have been like, yo, because after a certain age, pass rushers aren't as effective as they once were. So if you would have said that, I would have been like, Avery, I love your point. I was hoping that you did. I was like, yo, if you say 28, because that's a big red flag to me. He's 28 years old. After 30, it's like, all right, are you still going to be able to produce like you were when you were 24, when you were 25, when you're 26? So
the reason it's not a huge deal for me is because I still see Von Miller as phenomenal. DeMarcus Ware was still producing after
injuries.
Yeah, but he was still
injuries come to play.
Yeah, but when he was on the field, he was still producing.
Absolutely.
Somebody who was even undersized who was producing, and Dwight Freeney who was still producing after 30.
Absolutely.
So it's not unheard of, at the position to continue to produce. Calais Campbell is a force. What's his name? Cam Jordan from the Saint. He still is. He's 31 and he's still putting up. You know what I mean? So, that's the reason I didn't bring it up. So, just an update on the score. We've got 2 to Darius, 2 to Darren.
You got 5.
13.
You got my man's Avery cheating, y'all. This is what it's like.
Remember, Jerome gave me 4.
Darren
gave me 5.
Okay.
Right. Then he gave me another.
He gave you another 3.
So that's what? 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. And then
Avery's 13. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, Darren is 4. Yeah, Darren is 4. Yes. Yeah, I did give because I gave one to Darren. Yep, Darren is 4. Yep. So he's 4. He's 4. There's 2. All right. So I believe I'm up. You said you had one for me?
Yeah. So I have one for you, and we kind of just talked about this guy. Obviously, we saw what he did in when he was doing when he was on the field. The guy had a lot of questions about his health, and then towards the end of the season got suspended. Will Fuller signed a 1-year deal to the Miami Dolphins, and the biggest question for Miami is getting help. Not question, but the biggest thing was for Tua. Can he get a playmaker? Can he get somebody that can, when he get the ball in his hands, he's phenomenal, right? Like he can do all those things. So 1-year deal, Will Fuller to the Dolphins. Do you like it? Yes or no? Keynote. He won't be. He's suspended, so he doesn't come back till week 2. So they don't have him for week 1.
All right. I do not like it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Here's the reason why. Will Fuller's injury history, right? We talking about his injuries and such, right? He doesn't stay on the field. Devontae Parker don't stay on the field, right? So we're talking about essentially a team where are you going to get either receiver on the field for 16 games? So that's my biggest concern with it, man. I think the price tag is pretty good. I think they got him for a pretty good price tag because of the suspension and everything like that. But outside of that, it's just it's not even like he was an extreme number 1 type guy, right? He was the number 2 behind D-Hop for years. And like I said, being the number 2 and still not being able to stay healthy, to me, listen, I'm concerned about that. I just don't know how that's going to work. I think it's a situation where with Tua likes to have speed receivers. We've seen it with Devontae Smith and all the receivers that he had at Alabama. But for me, I'm not really. I don't like this one. This is the one, and I'm a Will Fuller fan, so it kind of hurts to say it. But I'm not liking this only because if you're going to get a receiver, why would you not go out and get somebody who's been consistent with being on the field? So, yeah.
All right. And then Darren said, but I got to disagree with Avery on this one. Tua needs weapons, and and only on a 1-year deal is great for him. Last year, when he was the number with Watson, he led the team in receiving yards until he got suspended, as well as the Dolphins need speed to pair with a big body guy like Parker.
Yada, yada, yada. Listen, my whole thing is this. Deshaun Watson is really good. Deshaun Watson is what made Will Fuller. Deshaun Watson made Brandon Cooks look good.
Whoa, Brandon Cooks is good.
Don't get me wrong. Listen, I'm not.
It's not 1,000 yards.
Brandon Cooks is horrible, but Brandon Cooks is not a number one.
He's not.
Brandon Cooks is not even top tier. So for me, what Deshaun Watson does to elevate players is phenomenal to me, and that's why I said I think he's one of the most, if not the most, underrated quarterback in the league. But that's beside the point. For me, I just listen. I'm not saying I don't believe in Tua, but he's not Deshaun Watson. Let's just call it what it is. And so for me, I'm not sure if I see, even when it comes to releases and different things like that. Like Will Fuller's fast, but if you get your hands on Will, sometimes he can get clamped up. And so, like I said, that coupled with the fact that he's injury prone, we're not sure if we're going to get 16 games from him. It's like you're talking about building. He brought up Tua needs weapons. Can I depend on my weapons to be there? I'm not sure. You want to bring in somebody. You want to help Tua. Bring in somebody you're going to build with. Bring in his boy Devontae Smith. Bring in somebody coming out of this draft that he can truly build with, right? And that we've seen can stay healthy. And Devontae Smith stayed healthy in the SEC at 170 pounds. So I'm sorry. I'm going. I don't like it.
Oh man, yo, this was good, but I'm gonna go with Avery. With this one, Avery, you made a great point when you said, "Can I depend on my receivers?" And I think that's the very key, because the number one question, not number one question, but what was going into this offseason with Tua was, can we get him some weapons, right? And I think they must have forgot, can we get him some healthy weapons? Just because Devontae Parker, injury prone. Then you add in the guy, Will Fuller, injury prone. But when these guys are on the field together, if they can get on the field together, they are a dynamic duo, because you have speed and you have a guy who can go up there and get the 50-50 ball. So I definitely think that that's the biggest thing. Darren, you made a great point. It's a 1-year deal, prove type of deal. You also have to understand he's suspended for the first game. So that's kind of like, all right, that hurt his stock. He's suspended for the first game. He comes in week 2, and, he has to kind of learn the system and different things like that. So I think that the Dolphins definitely could have signed someone else. I definitely think they should draft. I know in the mock drafts, Jamar Chase, somebody who's big body guy, running routes. Devontae Smith, obviously his boy. But Avery,
I wouldn't say Jamar is big body. All right, so how many points?
I'm gonna give you 4, because again, and it was the main point. Can I count on my receivers? That's the biggest thing, especially for a young quarterback. He needs to know when he goes out there, can I count on my number 1, my number 2? And then you have a guy, Mike Gesicki, a very underrated tight end. He's gonna be there. He's gonna be there. But can I count on him? They still have holes at the running back position. So it's like, I need to know when I go out there, am I going to have my number 1 and number 2?
All right. So here we go. These are the last 2. All right. I can't go in this because I'm smoking y'all right now. So these are the last
you obviously won. You won.
These are the last 2. These last 2, we're going to make them worth double the points. So either of you guys can win here. All right. These are the last 2. All right, and then we're going to jump off because this has been a pretty long one, all right?
Yes, it has. I'll make mine quick.
I'm going to go to Darius, and I'm going to go with I'm torn because, all right, so I'm going to give you I'm torn because there's a couple. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna give you one. I'm gonna give Darren one, and if I feel like it's the tiebreaker, I'll give the third.
Okay,
all right. So the first, Andy Dalton to the Bears. This is yours. Andy Dalton to the Bears, 1-year deal, $10 million. Is this a good or a bad signing?
Bad signing. Not the worst. Bad signing. Just because 1 year, $10 million deal. I don't really believe in Andy Dalton anymore. I was a fan of the signing. We went to Dallas, especially as a backup, just because of the offensive line and Zeke and the weapons. But this isn't a good signing. And Andy Dalton, no offense to him, he's a solid quarterback. I just don't like. I think the Bears definitely could have did something else. I mean, you heard rumors that they made a really strong push to get Russell. That would have been a huge splash in the season, but I just don't like it. And Allen Robinson deserves a good quarterback. Let's just start there. He deserves a good quarterback that is going to, put him in the best position to win a game and then give him the ball, especially because he's a very, very underrated receiver. And he's had the likes of Blake Bortles and Mitchell Trubisky and still put up numbers. So I don't like the signing. I don't know what the Bears are doing. I really don't. They're like just kind of falling apart. You get rid of Kyle Fuller, a very underrated corner. You let your defensive tackle Akeem Hicks seek a trade, and then you bring in Andy Dalton on a 1 year, $10 million deal. Like not 8, not 7. They could have gave him the Cam Newton deal where it's like, we're gonna give you $6 million, and then we're gonna give you incentives. So if you throw for over 4,000 yards, if you make the Pro Bowl, you can earn up to $15 million. I felt like if they would have did that, then it would have been a little bit of a more better signing, just because you get him cheaper, and he has to really work.
Okay, so Darren has no rebuttal. You get the full double points, meaning you get 6 points, which actually bolsters you into the lead ahead of Darren. You are now at 8 points to his 4 points, but he can still come back and get up on you if he gives a solid argument. His player is going to be Phillip Lindsay. Let me look up his contract because I completely forgot what it was.
Who did he sign with again? He signed with I think it was like a 1 year deal.
Phillip Lindsay. Excuse me. Went to Houston Texans.
Houston. Okay.
So now he's in a loaded backfield with goodness gracious, from the Cardinals. Goodness gracious, David Johnson
and Mark
Ingram. But yes, they bring him in, and they bring him in on $3.2 million, with $1 million guaranteed. All right. So Darren says it's a bad signing. The main reason is the overcrowding in the backfield for the team. They have David Johnson already, then added Mark Ingram, and then Lindsay. It's solid for the speed, but the signing wasn't a smart choice for the team. I like him as a player, but the overcrowding in the backfield will hurt the production. Do you agree with this? Do you disagree?
I'm gonna disagree, and I'm gonna tell you why I disagree. I agree with the overcrowding, but you gotta understand, Mark Ingram, 1 year deal. You can cut him and really not, lose anything if he doesn't produce well in the preseason or training camp. Phillip Lindsay, same thing. You can cut him. David Johnson, he's arguably he's going to be your starting running back, right? He's going to be your guy who's going to, first, second down, right? But with the Houston Texans, it looks like they're going to be trying to do is they're going to be a run-first team, and they kind of have a nice little three-headed trio with that. Like David Johnson, if you're getting the David Johnson that was Arizona in his early years, okay, cool. Phillip Lindsay is a good receiving back who can come in on those third downs, those 3rd and 5s, 3rd and 6s, and get you that first down. Or if you need that running back that can kind of go through between the tackles on 4th and 3rd and 1, you have Mark Ingram. So, I mean, it depends. So
okay. So your points about being able to cut them, man, those were so valid. Dude, when I tell you I was this close, I was this close to giving it to you off of that point alone. I'm like, now that's a solid point because you got to think it's only $1 million
1 year
for Phillip Lindsay. And with Mark, same kind of situation where it's just like you're not owed a lot of money. Like we could take the hit. That was just very, very solid and strong argument. But I'm going to have to agree with Darren here. I think it's a bad signing, like you said, the overcrowding in the backfield. I think that they are, like you said, they already got David Johnson. Mark Ingram is a proven vet, and because he's such a great locker room guy, I think that Phillip Lindsay would be the guy that gets cut before Mark Ingram. Just because if they had to choose, I think they want the locker room guy, the guy that is going to galvanize. You saw what he did in Baltimore. You saw what he did when he was in New Orleans. I think it's a situation where I'm going to have to give that one to Darren. However, I'm only giving him 2 points, which double gives him 4, which means you are tied. 8-8, the last one. And I'm going to be a homer. Kiki. All right. Keanu Neal signs a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Dallas Cowboys. Okay. Now, we're not sure what position he's going to play, safety or linebacker. But was that a good signing? Darius, you are first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Simply just because Dallas needs the help and that secondary. And Keanu Lee, he's a versatile player. We talked about versatility, right? Teams are really looking for those hybrid type of defenders. Like you can plug him in a safety, which they need, obviously. And then you could put him in the linebacker position with I believe it's Jalen Smith, the middle linebacker. Yeah, you have him. So you can kind of put him
in Van Der Esch.
You can put him anywhere on the field and he's going to make a play. Only issue is, again, the main argument really is injury. But if he stays healthy on the field, man, and again, 1 year, $5 million. It's not really hurting your cap space. It's really not doing that much. And again, they need the help. And depending on what they do in the draft, if they draft, I can't remember his name, but the Alabama corner that you can pair up with Trayvon Diggs, you got Keanu Neal back there making plays or coming up, dropping down in the box, making plays. Yo, the Dallas defense is going to look totally different than it did last year. And it's off of what? 2 signings, really, realistically, bringing in Keanu Neal who could play the linebacker, you can play the safety position, and then bringing in I can't remember his name. But you bring him in and you pair him up with Trayvon Diggs. I love the signing, man. I love the signing.
All right. Darren says he says it's only a good signing if he plays safety. He isn't a linebacker. He's too small with weight. He can make plays, but the injury history is bad as well. As he had back-to-back seasons with no play. It's a gamble on his health.
But that's why it's a 1 year, $5 million deal.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen,
I'm back.
Julio Jones is back.
Shout out to Xfinity for messing up my internet in the middle of the podcast. Got them on the phone right now. I just worked out some stuff to get back on, guys. So yeah, continue your debate. Go ahead, finish up, guys.
Well, I'm going to give the points here to Darius. I think that it's a good signing because of the fact, like you said, it's a 1 year, 5-year prove-it deal. I understand Darren's points about him being injury prone. He has not played too much football. But if you look at
the whole crew back.
But if you look at last year, he played almost every single game and he was extremely productive. That right there is a telltale sign for me that he's going to be what, if not the old, like, and when I say shades of old Keanu Neal, when he first came in the league, his first 3 years, I think, like you said, and to pair him with Trayvon Diggs, I think that is a phenomenal pairing. If he does, in fact, play linebacker, as long as he plays weak side, I think he could probably flow and fill if he could put on 5 to 10 more pounds. I mean, we see it. Deion Jones is only 222 pounds, and he plays middle linebacker. We saw Dayon Buchanan played a little bit of a linebacker as well when he was in Arizona, and he was a corner. So there's a possibility for him to do well there. And I like the signing. Like you said, 1 year prove-it deal. Let's see what you got.
All right, Darren, real quick.
So real quick, like I said, I don't like the sign because they're going to play him at linebacker. They're not going to play him at safety that often. They already stated that they want him to play at the weak side linebacker position. With the injury history, I don't like guards and tackles going up to get him because he's going to get washed down. I'm sorry. It's just not good for him right there.
But that's
as
why
with a reduced secondary, they already lost Awuzie and they just signed Lewis. But Lewis is more of a slot guy. He's not an every down starter. They had Trayvon Diggs, but he struggled in his first year. And they only have who to back up at the other safety position for the Cowboys? No one knows because they already let Xavier Woods go. So Keanu Neal is now the real only good safety they have, and they're going to put him at linebacker to help with the Leighton Van Der Esch injury history. With another injury history guy, that's not a good sign. I like the 1 year deal, but the position that they're going to have him play, as well as all the injuries to the secondary that they need him to play, is not good.
All right, Darius, real quick. Darius having another conversation. Good. Avery.
So, 1 second. So, basically, because if he plays weak side linebacker, he's not going to have to deal with. And I actually talked to Deontay about this because I felt the same way. I said, you know what, I'm not sure about him playing linebacker, but after talking to Deontay, he kind of assured me a little bit. When you're playing weak side linebacker, you're just called to flow and fill. You're not really going to be getting washed as much because of the fact that you're going to be flowing and filling and playing backside, right? All he has to do is do that. And because of the speed and the fact that even at 216 pounds, he was able to bang with anybody, right? So it's not like he's going to be afraid to bang with anybody in the backfield or any lineman for that matter, right? So I think it's a situation where if he puts on, like I said, another 5 to 10 pounds, and because it's only a 1-year deal, well, and honestly, it's experimental in my opinion. Okay, can you play weak side linebacker? And if he doesn't pan out well, go back to safety.
All right. Well, guys, thank you guys for sticking with us through these technical difficulties. Darius had to run, but we're gonna get into this again next week. I'm gonna go and get somebody fired at Xfinity. But I thank you guys for all getting on today. Please make sure you check us out again next week at 7 o'clock on Thursday. I know we have a special night tonight, but Thursday nights at 6 o'clock. Make sure you check us out. We'll be live on there. We'll have a lot more game shows. Again, apologize for this one, but we're going to have it out. We're going to have it good, and we're going to get you guys right back on track. So, guys, make sure you check us out on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, on Inside the Hashes. Also, check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, where you can find all our content on there, especially all our player interviews. We got some big NFL players, draftees are coming in that we get interviews for. So make sure you check that out. Big shout outs to Darren Braxton, whatever he's shouting out right now. But
gotta shout my young bulls out. Gotta love them, man.
I just want to I want the record to be shown that I smoked y'all. But all right, you know.
It's cool. If you got one, I got one. Darius is the only one that don't.
Yeah.
You gotta get Darius on the team now. The winning circle.
This is what happens. This is what happens when I got time, you know, to get my thoughts together and and everything like that.
I had a feeling this is going to be tailored to Avery anyway because that's what he does. So, guys, thank you so much, man. We had a great time on here. I was watching in the background. It was a great episode. So thank you guys. Once again, make sure you check us out on all our social media. Check us out on InsideTheHashes.com and check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Again, we'll see you again next week. Again, thank you so much, and we have a good week. Peace.